Welcome to episode 8 of Let's Talk Tunneling. I'm your host Dallas Adams, and today I have with me Craig Bennett, known as Benny. How are you, mate?
It's a pleasure, Dallas.
No, thank you. Now the thing too, it's Benny's birthday today, so I appreciate you coming in on your birthday, mate, to do this. So let's have a beer. We'll get this
Cheers.
done properly.
Can it just say it's not spate?
Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, okay. Great Northern, sorry about that. Grab this too, mate.
Cheers.
Happy birthday, brother.
Thank you, buddy.
Righto, mate. Lucky enough, you're up here working on a project, so it's your days off. I appreciate your time coming in. The podcast is set up because I appreciate what I learnt in the industry, and I'd heard a few stories in my time, and learnt from, I believe, some of the legends in our game. And I know that we sort of went along the same path, coming into the industry around the same times. But I don't know. Let's talk about your time in tunnelling, and well, I'm going to call it underground really, because you've done mining as well, which I believe is really special. So, when did you start?
September 93 in the Blue Mountains for McConnelldale Obayashi joint venture in Katoomba.
Now, I heard about this job because Rod Orman talked about it. So, what was involved there? What was your role, and when you rocked up there?
I was green, straight out of New Zealand.
Yeah, right.
Hopped off that plane in Sydney and I thought, what have I got myself in for?
Right. So how'd you get it? How'd you get the job?
A friend of mine was a supervisor for McConnelldale, and I says to him, would you give me a Guernsey underground, please? Because I'm fascinated with big machinery.
What were you doing? What were you doing prior?
I was in New Zealand, working in the sawmills down the deep south, loading timber trucks, keeping timber up to machines, making units for export to Australia, working with timber.
Never been to Australia before, or did you come over?
Sorry, never been to Australia.
Right, but just knew that they were doing some underground work over here, and you just rang up and wanted a job.
Yes, so I got a phone call on Saturday night at 11 p.m. So I gave notice. Monday, finished Tuesday, flew Wednesday, started Thursday.
That's pretty quick compared to nowadays. Yeah. What was that job like then? Once you rocked up, what was it like for you? Like, you'd operated plant before and heavy machinery, so you weren't shy of jumping on any gear, but tunnelling.
The heat took its toll on me because I was working on the surface because we were doing site establishment. As for hopping on plant, no. You had to earn your respect to hop on plant.
Yeah.
And because I was the green guy, I was on the shovel, the wheelbarrow, the jack pick. I started from the very bottom.
Righto, righto. So, even though you're an experienced operator back home, and you come over here, your first job, but you had to earn your stripes pretty much, eh?
Yes. So I was in an EWP basket offside in Neolega and put out mesh split sets, hand shotcreting, cleaning drains, keeping gear up to a man at the face.
So what do you reckon then? Rocking up and he with a shovel in your hand going, righto, dig that up, put that over there, then you got that job, hang that mesh, jump up in that basket. What was going through your head?
I question myself sometimes,
Yeah.
thinking, have I made the right decision? And then I had a goal, a target. But a lot of people put faith in me. And I didn't want to give them 100%, I wanted to give them 110. I just had a point to prove. I was only a little fella off the plane, not very big, probably not very strong. But I just wanted to prove a point that I could have a crack at this and not let them down. And I just worked my guts out.
Yeah. That job Roddy talk about it, and it was awesome because I'd heard a lot of the boys talk about the Blue Mountains, and some of the records that you fellas did up there. What came down to breaking those records for you? Do you reckon? What was the achievement, obviously, and not letting people down? But what did you like about that, Joel?
We had an awesome crew with a lot of experience, up front and behind, and we worked together as a team. And we were motivated, and we had a good leader who led from the front and was always up at the face. Yeah. So it was a challenge. It was like going into a rugby union game, isn't it? Yeah. You just give it your all, 110%, and that was what it was like on the TBM each shift.
Yeah. So you did your time, like you said. You're on the surface, sweating away there in this Australian sort of temperature and heat and climate and everything like that. When did you end up underground? How long did you do your penance for, I suppose, or your initiation?
I did 6 months on the surface before I got put on a roadheader crew to build a chamber for a TBM. And even during the roadheader excavation, I was just a pelican pick and a shovel in my hand, cleaning up behind the roadheader, putting in service hooks, hanging service pipes, ventilation. And at the end of a shift, the air leaks would come out and I would offside all the drillers to make sure their oil bottles were full, the hoses were connected, and all of the drilling equipment and all the bolts were at the face when we pulled back. So I was an offsider and nipper. Yeah.
What about from that Blue Mountains job? Where'd you go? Where'd you end up after that job?
After the Blue Mountains, I got a phone call asking if I wanted to go mining. So I went out to North Park's gold and copper mine.
Did you know much about mining?
No. I had no idea. All I knew was that it was a city underground.
Yeah, right. So, how come? There no tunneling jobs, or what happened? What you just thought? Oh, I'm over here. I'll give this a crack.
A supervisor asked me, his name's Kai Forrester, if I'd like to go out and give a crack at mining.
Yeah,
go at mining.
What'd you think?
I loved it. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's good to see the difference between tunnelling and mining.
Yeah, right. And how much difference you reckon?
It's all machinery. So it was all dump trucks, boggers, drill and blast headings, stopes, feeding ore passes, load and haul to the surface, to crushers. It was all mechanical mining.
How long were you out there for?
I was only there 6 months.
Oh, yeah. And then what?
An opportunity came up to go to Bangkok and work for the same company that I worked for in the Blue Mountains.
Okay.
So I went to Bangkok to work on a pipeline that they were building underneath the city.
So what TBM or pipe? What do you mean pipeline?
It's called micro tunneling, so it's just a miniature TBM that we put underground down a shaft and then bring it out at a retrieval shaft.
So you would have been suited to that then, being a little fella?
I was. I got given the smallest machine.
Yeah. Do you reckon that's the reason they rang you up? Who's the littlest fella that had the biggest heart? Fuck, we'll ring Benny up and see what he's up to. So microtunneling. Tell us about that. What's the go there?
We were sinking these sheep pole shafts in the middle of Bangkok, and then we'd stick this miniature TBM and tail cam down, and then we would push and excavate at the same time, and then lower a pipe in behind it.
So you've got directional drilling, eh? So these guys that, say, put in gas lines or bloody water lines for these houses here, they drill the hole with their drilling rig from the surface, and they go through, they can direct it with the head of the drill steel, direct it up and pop it up somewhere else. And then they grab a pipeline, and then they drag it through. But you're going TBM and then pipeline behind you as you go through, is that right?
Yeah, I'm installing the permanent concrete pipe behind me, So when that TBM comes out, there's a pipeline in place, and that's the finished product.
Right. Segment pipes or full length? What do you mean?
They were, I think they were 4 metre long concrete steel reinforced pipes.
What diameter?
My machine was 1500.
Metre and a half.
Yes.
But yeah, so how do you work in 1.5 metres?
With great difficulty. You operate the machine underground at the face. So as I go down to the machine, I'm like this. And I have a laser set up with a target on the machine, and I just follow that laser. And a muck skip comes down the shaft, I winch it to the TBM, I start to cut ahead, push pressures, excavate, follow the guidance. At the same time, I'm putting muck into a skip. Stop when the skip's full. I give a signal to the tie workers to winch it out and lift it up, empty it and send it back.
Fuck. Unreal. How long was that job for?
12 months.
Yeah. Didn't mind Bangkok?
It was an eye-opener for me.
Yeah. You done much travelling when you left? Like, obviously you come here, which was a big thing. And then, what about over there? Did you head over there prior to...
I didn't do much travelling until I worked in Singapore, which was later on in my career.
Yeah. So tunnelling gave you a bit of opportunity to travel then?
It's given me a lot of opportunities to travel all around Australia and Southeast Asia. So I've turned around a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I've been able to, on occasions, pick and choose the places that I've wanted to work.
Yeah,
so I am grateful for that.
Yeah. Righto, so then 12 months over in Bangkok doing a micro tunnel. 1.5 metres, Jesus. Anyway, what happened after that?
A contract was finished and I came back, and the same people I worked for at North Parks asked me if I wanted to go to Western Australia Bronzewing mine site.
Geez, you must have a bloody good name when you work in these jobs then.
I'm lucky I know a lot of good people.
Yeah, good. So then Bronzewing, that's WA?
Yes.
Gold, nickel?
Gold and copper.
Gold and copper. So back into mining?
Yes, for 3 months.
Yeah, right.
It was a short stint until the tunnelling industry picked up again.
What do you think about that? I know a lot of the boys do it. I haven't really done it myself, and I did my mining and then I come into tunnelling and stuck with tunnelling, but there is an opportunity, I suppose, because we work underground, to get out into the mines as well. What do you think of that?
I enjoy the break to do a tunnel and then a mine job and then a tunnel or a TBM job. I enjoy it.
Yeah, right. What does the mining give? What are you then? What do you call yourself, a miner or a tunneler? Tunneler. So what does the mining do? Does it give you anything to bring back to tunnelling though, you reckon?
It's all machinery operated. It was hot. It was a more rip tear bust. It's about getting as many metres or many tonnage of rock out as possible within a 12-hour day. So it was different.
What do you? So you call yourself a tunneler, so you prefer tunnelling. I suppose when you go to a mine and do what you've done, you almost appreciate tunnelling, don't you?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. So then WA, and then you come back tunnelling. What was that? What was the next job?
Eastern Distributor, McConnell, Surrey Hills.
Yeah,
They
right.
just got awarded that contract.
Yeah.
So that was the same people I worked for in Singapore, Bangkok and Blue Mountains.
Yeah. Tell me about that Eastern Distributor. Like, I worked on Cross City with a few of the boys there that come from and worked on that Eastern Distributor, and they told me the size of those openings that you guys did for the tunnel and everything like that. What was your role there, and what did you do? And tell us your take on that job, please.
I was a leading hand, looking after the biggest roadhead of it, McConnell at the time. So it was about excavating and pulling back and putting in bolts when required, and shotcreting, and then starting again. So you made the calls when the machine stopped.
How many on your crew?
5.
Yeah. How many road headers on that job?
There were 2. One was doing ramps and one was doing mainline.
Right.
I was on the mainline, not the ramps.
Yeah, right. So that's the ramp. That's that Randwick exit, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you had the main line, which is straight, comes off the harbour tunnel, straight into Eastern Distributor, then pops up towards the airport there.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
right.
our contract was to go halfway, and I think Walters were coming in from the other side.
Yeah, right. Now I found out years later that you opened it up and then they put a false floor. So when you come into that Eastern Distributor, you're actually on top of each other. Is that right?
Yes, correct. We opened it for like two-way traffic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at the end, it was one big, huge hole.
Yeah, right. What did you think of that? Knowing what you've known till then, and then seeing the size of that.
It blew my mind. The size and the diameter of that hole, I was just like, wow.
Yeah, right.
And to see the finished product and cars going through.
Yeah. And then north, you headed over North Head.
Yes, went to Northside Storage Tunnel where I did an underground pump station and then a TBM chamber and then a TBM to Tongues Park that met another TBM halfway. So we tunnelled under the Spit Bridge.
Right.
And little do people know that there's a tunnel under the Spit Bridge.
Yeah, because they've got proposals for some coming up, but there's actually one there, eh?
Yes.
And you worked on it. Righto, Manly, and then North Head, and then where?
The M5, original M5 at Bexley for Balderstone.
Right. And then Singapore. You ended up over in Singapore. Now, can we go into the Singapore job a bit more? So, what was that job all about?
It was on the border to Malaysia, so it was out in the industrial estate near Johor Bahru. So it was like 45-minute drive out of the city. So it was an underground cable tunnel. So it was a drill and blast shaft of about roughly 20 metres deep, and then build a chamber for a TBM launch,
Yeah, right.
and then a segment line cable tunnel.
Why drill and blast? How come they went that way?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think because it was faster.
Yeah, right. What do you prefer?
They both have their pros and cons.
Yeah. As a worker, like you started off as a TBM, on a TBM up the Blue Mountains. You went mining, so you saw drilling, bogging, trucking, rehab, meshing, bolting and all that. And then you come back and you've been roadheader with Eastern Distributor, and then over to Singapore in a tunnel situation, tunnelers doing drill and blast. How do we go with that? Tunneling go with drill and blast, you reckon?
It was hard working in Singapore because of the foreign language. So some of our workers were Chinese, some were Thai, Nepalese, Filipino.
So what do you do?
So we keep the Thais together and the Chinese. So we might set up 4 or 5 sinkers, and we might have 3 Thais on that sinker, 3 Chinese on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And away they go.
They get on all right?
Occasionally there's a little bit of bickering and stone throwing and fighting. That's why you've got to be there all the time to sort it out there and then.
And so what was your role there?
Supervisor, tunnel supervisor.
Right. So how do you go supervising? How do you communicate with them then? What about your pre-start? How do you talk?
Back then we didn't really have pre-start.
Yeah, right.
So we would just grab our workforce and take them down in the alley, Mac. And we would show them, we would get the sinker and hook up the air hoses and show them the perimeter and the holes that we want them to drill. So you were hands-on yourself, and you had to stay there all day.
So you're a supervisor, and you've got a crew of how many, 10?
12.
12? Half of them Chinese, half of them, what'd you say? Thai and Malaysian?
Thai, Malay, Filipino.
Yeah. And then, so as a supervisor, you go, righto, fellas, let's head down, let's go down here. And then I suppose after a little while they'd get used to it and then same shit, different day, or what?
Yeah, but once they got into a routine, they were repetitious, those people.
Yeah.
And they were pretty good.
Good workers?
Yes.
Bloody hell, eh? So, yeah, you had to be hands-on, I suppose, and watch them for as long as you can.
Yes.
Yeah, good experience?
Yeah, it was. It was a big learning curve for me.
Yeah. Did you learn much from them? You know, like the way they work or anything like that? Or was there anything special about them that you've thought, far out, that's unreal?
A lot of them would make their own tools out of scrap steel, as in lump hammers and ring spanners and shifters, because that was just the way. And they were pretty good at welding and oxycutting.
Yeah.
And they would weld away with no welding helmet or no goggles on, oxycut without safety glasses.
Yeah.
And just, if they seen a piece of steel lying around, they would just make a tool out of it.
Right.
So yeah, they did educate me.
Where did you get them from then? Like, how would they get a job on a big project like that? Did they do many tunnels over there, or is there tunnelers? You know, like here, like you said, you called yourself a tunneler. I consider myself, even if I fly home, you know, and I put my occupation, I usually put tunneler. What do they have over there?
They go to Bangkok because it's a cheap workforce, and then they bring them back to Singapore on a 12-month contract. And then after 12 months, they fly them back to Bangkok for a break.
Oh, yeah.
So accommodation is on site, and they have a food mess where they eat.
Yeah.
And we would have to stop halfway through the day, allow them to go back to their canteen to eat their food.
Yeah, right.
And have a rest for 1 hour and then back into it.
Yeah. How many, Kiwis or Aussies were supervisors on that? You weren't on your own though, were you? What about the engineers and all that?
No. I had, there was another Kiwi supervisor with me.
Yeah.
So there was two of us looking after this crew.
Yeah.
And then there was two of us building the TBM.
Yeah.
And away we went.
Right, so you said shaft sinking, weren't you?
Yes.
And then, so what was involved in the job with these people? What did you have to do? I know if you did a TBM launch here, you would do a chamber, obviously, or a launch chamber and everything like that. What was the go there? Especially drill and blast. So you'd be setting up the portal, or?
Yep, once we sunk the shaft, we had to do a back shunt tunnel for the gantry.
So you didn't have like a box cut, eh? So you went straight into a shaft?
A round diameter shaft of about 20 metres diameter, about 20 metres deep.
So you went from the surface, you sunk a shaft down 20 metres, and then you started your drill and blast. Is that right?
We drill and blast the shaft,
and
then we started to drill and blast the back shunt tunnel where the gantry is for the TBM to go.
Yeah, right.
And then we started to do a bit of a nozzle for the TBM to start cutting.
Yeah, okay. Big workforce to do that job, or?
Yep, we were on a 7374 roster, and we probably had 12 workers each. All the supervisors were New Zealand and Australian men coming from a tunnel background.
Yeah. Righto. And then after that job, what happened? You come back to here, back to Australia?
Yep, after Singapore, I came back to Australia, and I did a mining stint in Western Australia at Brunswick.
Oh, yeah.
And then we went Eastern Distributor, North Head.
Yeah. And then you ended up in Sydney doing a job out at Liverpool, is that right?
Yep. I was out at Liverpool, we're doing a micro tunnel again, same setup as what we had in Bangkok for McConnell Dell.
Yeah.
So I did 12 months pipe checking out there. For Sydney Water, it was a water pipeline underneath the Liverpool city centre.
Yeah. And then just a series of tunnels after that, because they were pretty rapid, eh? Like, you went Lane Cove, and then it was pretty full on from there, eh?
Yeah, Lane Cove, and then on to East Link in Melbourne. So we were lucky we'd come out of one hole and straight into another.
Yeah.
It was just continuous work.
Do you like having a bit of a break in between? What do you like knowing and having a good name in the industry, knowing that a job's sort of coming up near the end? How do you work it in to have a bit of a break and then get on to the next job? What do you like? How long do you like to have off between jobs?
Back then I didn't.
Yeah.
Finish one job on a Sunday, start a new one on Monday. But now at the end of each project, I ask for a 4-week break.
Yeah.
Before starting a new job.
So Lane Cove, Eastlink, then you've done some desalination plant jobs, eh?
Yep, Sydney Desal. It was pipe jacking, micro tunneling again, same as Liverpool and Bangkok. Did a deep sea recovery of a TBM out in Botany Bay.
Right. What's the go there? What do you mean recovery?
So I did a shaft on the waterfront at Kurnell and then tunnelled 860 metres out into Botany Bay and then dredged around the machine, put 2 bulkheads in place, pushed the machine away from the last pipe, installed these huge airbags under the TBM, and floated it up to the surface, attached it underneath a barge, floated the barge over to Brightness Sands, and then a 500-ton mobile crane pulled it out.
I've got to get this. Like I'm picturing it when you're talking, but I wasn't on that job, so I wouldn't. So Kurnell, you come down, you launch a TB or a TBM.
So sink a shaft on the ocean front.
Yeah. So on the beach.
Yep.
Yeah.
20 metres deep.
Righto.
And then put a TBM down.
Yeah.
And then tunnel out underneath Botany Bay.
Yeah.
For 860 metres.
Righto.
And then stop, dredge around, expose the machine.
So dig around it. So it's like you've stuck a rod into the garden, and then you want to dig that end of the rod out. So you've dug it out. So you're in the middle of the ocean, 850 metres out into Botany Bay, and then you fellas dig around the drill head, dig around it, and then take it out?
Put 2 bulkheads in place so we don't flood the pipeline behind us.
Oh, so you sealed your tunnel up?
Yep.
Yeah, so tunnel out, so you're not flooding anything, so it's all sealed. EPB?
Slurry machine.
Slurry machine. So then you go out. When you get to the end of that 860 metres, you stop it, and then you come back and you block it off.
Put 2 bulkheads in place.
Yep.
Actually 3 bulkheads in place on my last pipe, and remove all my services in the pipeline, dredge around the machine.
How do you disconnect all that then? How do you just uncouple them and cut them off, or you're like?
There's there's a special pipe that goes in behind the machine that you're going to sacrifice.
Yeah, okay.
And it's got all these. It's got to have 3 plugs in it.
Yeah, right. So you get to so you pull the machine right through. How long is your machines?
The machine would be 4 metres long.
Right. Okay. So machine's out the end, 14 metres back from the end of the machine. You've got all your services and everything that's fed you the whole 850 metres. You come back and you build a wall, a bulkhead.
Yep.
Seal it off. Take your service lines and everything that fed that part of the machine. You sacrifice them, cut it off. It's all finished. Close it all up, and that's sealed. Float barges out.
Yes.
How deep?
You'd be surprised. The machine's only about 7 or 8 metres below.
Oh, right. Dig all that out. Attach, what do you say, flotations?
Airbags underneath it.
Airbags, yeah.
And then run a hydraulic hose from a power pack on a barge down onto the machine.
Yeah.
Hook it up to the machine. The machine walks away from that pipeline and then floats up.
How do you get underneath the machine? Do you have to dive down there, or what do you? Does anyone have to have a look?
Yeah, we have divers on the barge
Righto.
that go down and they hook it all up. They set up the airbags.
Right. And then it just lifts off wherever you've dredged it out or bloody dug up underneath it as much as you can. Inflate these airbags, and then it floats that whole machine up 40 metres of it up to the bottom of the shaft, and then you take it over to the surface or to the beach again, and then crane it out. How long did that take?
That process? 3 to 4 weeks.
As tunnellers, you're involved in that too, eh? That's all part of it, or next stage?
Contractors come in and walk the machine away, but we're there overseeing it.
Yeah. Unreal. Yeah, I didn't know any of that. That's brilliant. But I thought, go out, finish it, take it to bits, pull it back out the same machine, same hole. But then, lift it straight out.
So the same principle was done at Wheatstone recently, a few years back.
Yeah. Right.
Of a gas pipeline.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what about the Melbourne desal then? What was go there?
We left the 2 machines underground, built a bulkhead,
Right.
concreted them in.
Yeah, right. So just different method, different bloody outcome.
Yeah.
Right. City Eastlink cable tunnel. What was that?
That connected up to an existing cable tunnel. So little do you know, there's a whole network of cable tunnels underneath Sydney.
How? What do you mean? Like years? How many years back? How old are these tunnels?
I'm not sure, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, right.
So we connected up to another cable tunnel, broke through, and we left a 2BM under the city.
Yeah, right. So, Benny, there's bloody TBMs underground everywhere, just buried. How can we bury them when we can't just drive them out? What's happening there?
Because it's underneath the city, underneath a motorway, underneath Darling Harbour. We would have to take the motorway out to sink a huge shaft and take down partially a building to retrieve that machine.
How come we don't have a reverse and just come out the same hole?
Because then we would destroy all of our segment line tunnel that we've just created.
Right.
Because the diameter of the machine won't fit in the segments of the machine of the tunnel that you've just built. But you can't shrink the machine to walk it back out.
Right.
Impossible.
Yeah. Maybe you and I should come up with an idea of being able to shrink a machine, and then we'll make millions, mate. We'll be sitting on this couch, bloody billionaires. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's give it a crack.
We'll call it the Spates TBM, eh? Yeah, we'll give it that name. Righto. Then Northwest Rail.
Yes, it's the new metro tunnel in Sydney that's up and running. So it was a good job.
Yeah.
Like they all are.
What's so good about it?
It was only 7 minutes from home, so it's the closest job I've ever worked on in my life.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What's up with these fellas? Bloody, like back across city, a lot of the boys used to live out west, and I didn't get that. When I first came tunnelling, I must admit I didn't mind living next to the job. It was a bit of a rat race living in the cities though, but yeah, a lot of them lived out west when I was there. But yeah, this job, Northwest Rail, you live 7 minutes away, you could almost run.
Yes, and it was 8-hour days. So I think they got that from the Blue Mountains.
Yeah, right.
Because you get a high rate of production over an 8-hour shift, don't you? Rather than a 12-hour shift.
What do you reckon? Why is that, you reckon?
Because the last 2 hours of a 12-hour shift, you're starting to feel fatigued.
Yeah.
And tired and exhausted, and you're thinking about that commute out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And your mind's not on the job that last hour.
Yeah.
But for 8 hours underground, you're in a good state.
A
good mindset.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of boys talk about different jobs, and they said it was a good job. You said that Northwest Rail was a good job. What was the one thing that stood out for you with that job?
how close it was to home, the 8-hour shifts, same as what we did in the mountains. The open cut box cuts where the TBMs came out of that workshop.
Yeah. Where was your site there? What did you do there, and what was your role? And
I was tunnel shift boss, so I had my own crew. Oversee excavation of 1 TBM.
Yeah.
During that 8-hour shift.
Yeah. And then you did the West Connects M4, M5.
Yeah, I was there for excavation on the M4.
Yeah.
So it was a big site. We had 9 road headers all up. It's probably one of the biggest sites I've worked on.
Yeah.
And when excavation finished, I rolled over to M5.
So, geez, you've done a very varied amount of work. Like you go road header, one job, TBM the next, back to road headers, shaft sinking, drill and blast, work on a shovel, but then now supervising. What's your favourite place that you like about tunnelling, as in roles?
I'm comfortable and happy in the role I have at present as tunnel foreman, overseeing excavation. And when excavation is complete, moving on to the back end works, such as the concrete lining, and then you see the finished product.
Mm.
And you think, wow, it was worth it.
Mm. And how's this generation, now that they're coming in? Now you're a foreman, or managing, kids coming into this industry now. Looking back at when you started 26 years ago to what you're seeing coming in the gate now, and as a leader and the frontline leader, what's your thoughts on that?
It's just so much work out there at the moment, and it's ongoing for the next 10 years. And you see these new guys coming into the industry, and after 6 or 9 months, they're hopping on road headers. Whereas I had to wait 7 years before I got on a road header.
Wow. Is it just because of the way it is now, the jobs, or was it like, I suppose back then, and you talked about the 2 road headers at Eastern Distributor. I know Cross City, we had, I think there was 4 or 5. You had one down the vent tunnel, 2 in the main line, but then you were coming from Darling Harbour and we were coming from... So now, I know the job I'm on now, you got 9 in one site. North Connects had 30 odd. So there's plenty of seats that need to be filled. So how do we do that with what we've got?
Well, you look at the West Connects M4, that side I was on, had 9 road headers. You look at Lane Cove Tunnel back in 2004, that whole project was 9 road headers. So the mega scale now of tunnelling, it just blows your mind.
Mm.
And then, at the moment, we haven't got the workforce to fulfill it. Mm. So these guys have been given such a lucky opportunity to come into this industry and earn the good coin and work their way up so quick.
What do you reckon we could do to help them? I know it took you 7 years to jump on a road header, like you said. These guys are jumping on within 7 to 9 months, or under a year. What do you reckon is a good tool that they could use, or people could take on board, to be able to go from 7 years to 1 year? Is it doable?
I think a training school or a training academy, like an apprenticeship, so that we can educate these people before they come onto the tunnel site.
Why do you think that would be good? What's sticking out with you when they do rock up?
Their mobile phones underground just makes my blood boil.
Yeah.
Because it's a distraction.
Yeah.
And they're on it all the time.
Yeah.
I'd like to take that out of the equation completely, and so that they're educated before they even step foot.
Yeah. And what sort of education do you think is important?
Training school, an academy.
But then have have a complex, okay, and say it's an academy, have a bloody big sign up there, but what sort of training do you think is important for an academy?
I want them to look at plant, and I want them to identify any faults. I want them to learn how to do a pre-start.
Yep.
Walk around the machine, identify any faults, any leaks, any pinch points. How to write up a startup card for the task in hand that they're going to do within a certain area, and anything that could create a problem for them. Do you know what I mean? People and plant interaction. Do we need to set up an exclusion zone, pos zone? I want them to identify hazards as soon as they walk in that portal at their work site.
Now, I'll ask you this. You can answer it if you want. Do you not think we're getting that knowledge at this stage, or on these projects yet, or enough? So, like an induction or whatever.
We are, but I think the induction process needs to be a little bit longer, and it needs to be over maybe a week.
Yeah, right.
Training before they're given to me to go underground.
Yeah, that's awesome. I totally agree. Yeah. Righto, mate. Best job you've been on?
Blue Mountains.
Why?
The people I work with in the Blue Mountains in September '93 I still stay in touch with today. And that's where my legacy began.
Good on you. What's some of the advice you got back then, mate, that you could share with us?
There's one thing that stands out to mind, and it was a very good friend that lost his life on that job. His name was Stan. He pulled me aside one day and he told me two things. He said, "Benny," and I quote, "there's more to life than tunnelling. Work hard, make a name for yourself, save your money, then get out." And 2 weeks later he died underground. And I'll never forget that. Sometimes today when I'm underground and I see these young fellas that need to pull their head in, I pull them aside and I say that to them. And when I say it, it's from the heart. Another thing Stan taught me, and no one's ever told me this, rock draw oil. Yeah. Do you know how to tell the difference between normal oil and rock draw oil? So many people wouldn't have a clue. This is another thing you could train them up in their academy. Put your hand in the oil and you pull it out. It's the only oil that'll stick to your fingers to that point, and then it breaks away. So many people, when you say to them, "Can you get me some rock draw oil, please?" and put in that drill or that air pump,
Yeah.
and they come back with hydraulic oil.
Yeah.
Because they have no idea the difference.
Unreal.
And I always remember those two things that Stan taught me. And I pass that on all the time.
No, good on you, mate. Good on you. Well, I was going to ask you what advice would you give young kids nowadays, but I think you've just touched on it. 26 years ago, if you penned something to you, like even though you had those great people that you worked with in 93, if you could write something on this piece of paper here and send it back 26 years ago to that young little Benny that rocked up, what would be something that you would write there for you to read walking onto that Blue Mountains job, you reckon?
Dust mask.
Wear a dust mask.
Dust is a big thing these days. So many of those people on that project have silicosis today.
Wow.
And it's another thing we need to teach the younger generation, because they take their dust mask off on their phones.
That's great, mate. That's awesome.
And cigarettes.
Don't smoke. I think that's what blew me away too. Like when I got tunnelling, when I came to tunnelling, far out. I couldn't believe who smoked and how many smokes. And I think I was the only one on my shift, or one of the only ones. I can't remember now that didn't smoke. But yeah, that was pretty full on. Well, mate, I don't know, we could talk for days, but really appreciate your time, especially coming in on your birthday too. I know it's a big thing. Give me your time. But no, I appreciate it. I think we've actually got a surprise for you as well, as part of, a thank you for coming on board. Well, Benny, like I said, I appreciate your time for coming on, especially today. It's your birthday, so let's talk tunnelling. We've got you a cake, so bring it in, darling. Move this out of the way. Righto.
Thank you.
We'll get a camera, set it up. No one goes without on Let's Talk Tunnelling. Usually get a feed, a few beers, but a special day today with Benny's birthday. 25 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
25. Righto. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Benny. Happy birthday to you.
Hip hip hooray! Hip hooray! Hip hooray! 1, 2, oh no. Love it.
Well done, mate.
Thanks.
Cheers, bud.
Thank you very much.